What if the discomfort you feel right now isn't a mistake, but a silent sign of progress? What if this sense of not fitting in anymore, of no longer belonging to what once felt familiar, is simply a reflection of your inner evolution? Perhaps, without realizing it, you've already made a vibrational leap, and now you're between two worlds, the one you've outgrown and the one that is still forming. Many describe this phase as emptiness, apathy, or even disconnection. But in truth, this space is the energetic womb of your next version. It's where the old identity begins to dissolve, and the new one, still unnamed, starts to pulse. And like every birth, this process requires silence, surrender, and trust. There are no precise maps, only subtle signs that something profound is unfolding within. It's common at this stage to feel like everything is stuck or wrong. But according to quantum physics, before a new reality collapses into form, there's a period of instability and reorganization. The field needs emotional coherence to manifest the new, and that takes time, not on the outer clock, but in the inner timing of the soul. This space between chapters is not a waste of time. It is preparation time. What feels like absence is often the field reorganizing possibilities, realigning paths, clearing out excess noise so that only what is essential remains. It's a process of vibrational refinement, and like all refinement, it may hurt before bringing clarity. If you're feeling this strange pause, if it feels like you're in the dark, unsure of where to go, breathe. You are not regressing. You are being recalibrated for a more authentic version of yourself. And the discomfort that feels like the end might just be the echo of the beginning. There is a moment in the awakening journey when you are no longer who you were, but still cannot fully embody who you're becoming. This space may feel confusing, even distressing, but it is profoundly sacred. It is like the moment between night and dawn, neither shadow nor full light, a fertile ground where your new version begins to form in silence. In quantum physics, this moment corresponds to the state of superposition. All possibilities exist simultaneously, waiting only for a coherent vibrational collapse. In other words, your new reality already exists in the field. It's there, pulsing, available, but still invisible to the eyes as it depends on your inner state to manifest. Meanwhile, you inhabit the in-between, sensitive, vulnerable, yet full of power. The problem is that the mind doesn't handle not knowing very well. It wants definitions, plans, certainty. And that's why, when you enter this space between identities, it's common to feel the urge to go back to what was known, even if it no longer fits. But that would betray the call of your soul. The discomfort you feel now is not a mistake. It is the natural friction between the old that no longer serves and the new that has not yet been born. In this interval, everything within you is tested. Your patience, your faith, your ability to trust the invisible. And the key is not in forcing answers, but in creating space for your next version to emerge with truth. Like the butterfly in the cocoon, there is nothing to do but allow. And this allowing is the deepest form of participation in transformation. You are not lost. You are moving between frequencies. And the gentler you are with yourself in this process, the more smoothly the transition will occur. Because the field does not respond to haste, it responds to presence. And it is in presence that the new you slowly begins to reveal itself. There is a kind of silence that is not absence, but preparation. When everything feels still without signs or clear answers, it's natural for the mind to scream for direction. But on the path of consciousness, silence is a subtle language. It doesn't indicate stagnation, but rather a silent reorganization happening behind the scenes of your reality. It's like winter, when trees appear to be asleep. No new leaves sprout, no apparent movement occurs, but underground the roots are deepening, the soil is regenerating, and the invisible is preparing to bloom. In the same way, when you enter that inner silence, the quantum field is recalibrating possibilities based on your new vibration. Joe Dispenza teaches us that before manifestation, the body must disconnect from the triggers of the past. That requires a period of pause, of suspension of the old identity. During this time, old emotions arise to be seen and released, and all of it happens in silence. Not as punishment, but as part of the energetic refinement process. It is in that silence that the field begins to align synchronicities, connections, and opportunities that, later on, will feel miraculous. But for that to happen, you must withstand the apparent void without trying to fill it with distraction or control. The urge to fix everything only scrambles what is already being carefully orchestrated. So next time the silence comes, welcome it as an ally. Say to yourself, even without knowing, something is preparing, because it is. And the more you trust this noiseless space, the faster it turns into clarity. Silence, in truth, is the sound of the field organizing the next chapter of your life. It's common, in the face of emotional discomfort, to think something is wrong, that you've lost your way, that you're failing, that you've disconnected from your path. But what if the discomfort isn't a sign of error, but of expansion? What if what feels heavy today is simply the body and mind's natural resistance to a new frequency that's trying to settle in? Your soul never punishes you. It signals you. And sometimes the clearest sign that you're evolving is precisely the discomfort of no longer fitting into your old self. Like a shoe that has become too tight, there's a vibrational pressure that says, this place, this habit, this thought no longer supports who you're becoming. And ignoring that signal only prolongs the pain. Bruce Lipton reminds us that the body is conditioned to old emotional patterns, even when the mind decides to change. This means that when you declare, I want something new, your field starts to shift. But the body, seeking safety, tries to pull you back to what's familiar. The discomfort is this tension field between what you desire and what you still haven't been able to release. That's why so many give up right at the edge of transformation, because they believe friction is a sign of failure, when in truth, it's confirmation that change has already begun. Discomfort is like the heat before a seed breaks open, not punishment but activation. It asks for breath, acceptance, and trust, not escape, repression, or control. So the next time something inside you feels off, pause and listen. What is that feeling trying to tell you? Where are you holding on to what has already expired? Discomfort is a teacher, and when you learn to listen to it without fear, it stops being pain and becomes guidance. The mind has an almost automatic impulse. It wants to understand, control, and resolve. And when you enter a phase of transition where nothing feels solid, where everything seems suspended, that impulse intensifies. It convinces you that you need to act, decide, accelerate. But at this stage, any effort is noise. The rush to understand is often what delays the true revelation. The quantum field doesn't respond to compulsive doing, but to a state of being. And the paradox is that the more you try to fix the emptiness with logical thinking, the further you drift from the coherence needed for the new to manifest. The mind wants immediate clarity, wants to fill the silence with old solutions. But what is emerging now doesn't come from the past, and therefore cannot be understood with previous tools. The trap lies in trying to use linear thought to navigate a process that is deeply energetic and nonlinear. As Greg Braden explains, the heart sends more information to the brain than the other way around, and it's in the coherence between the two that new possibilities open. There's no use thinking 1,000 thoughts if the body is tense and on alert. The message that reaches the field will be one of disharmony, not clarity. The mind, with good intentions, tries to protect you from uncertainty, but excessive analytical thinking, recurring doubts, and the need to predict the future are just the ego's way of avoiding feeling the present. And the present is the only true access point to transformation. When you stop fighting the silence, it begins to guide you. So when you notice yourself drowning in thoughts, pause. Bring your focus to your breath, to your heart, to the now. Ask yourself gently what truly needs an answer and what just needs space. Because often, what seems like a lack of clarity is simply an excess of mind trying to resolve what only the field can realign. In quantum physics, there is no slow and gradual transition between energy states. The electron's jump between levels happens abruptly. It disappears from one point and reappears in another without occupying the space in between. That invisible gap between one position and the next is called a quantum leap. And that's exactly what happens to you during moments of discomfort and deep emptiness. What you feel as inner chaos is, in truth, the field preparing that leap. It's like a bow being drawn before the release. The tension, the confusion, the suspension, these are not signs that something is wrong. but that something is about to be released with force. And the more you try to fix this moment with logic or haste, the more you interfere with the trajectory of the leap. Joe Dispenza explains that the mind loves familiar patterns, and that the quantum leap happens when you remain in a new internal state long enough for the field to collapse a new reality. But between the old and the new, there's a void, and that's where many give up, because the void feels like a threat. It feels like absence. But it's in that emptiness that the collapse is prepared. It's important to understand that the discomfort of transition isn't random. It has rhythm. It has purpose. Your nervous system is being trained to hold higher frequencies. The body needs to learn to remain steady while the field shifts, and that requires presence, not anxiety. Discomfort only becomes suffering when you interpret it as a mistake rather than a passage. So if you feel like you're in the dark, without answers, without clear direction, know this. This is the most delicate and powerful moment of the process. It's when the leap is being encoded. And if you can remain in this space with trust, without trying to force nor run, you'll see that the new doesn't arrive with noise, it simply appears. Like the electron. Like you in your new version. Spiritual emptiness is not the absence of life. It is the overflow of possibility. It is the point where all realities coexist, waiting only for a coherent state to collapse into form. In physics, this space is known as 0 point, where energy exists in its purest and most potential state. On the path of consciousness, it is called the void, that internal place where the old has already gone and the new has not yet arrived. Being in that space can feel uncomfortable, even frightening. Nothing seems to move, the senses dull, and the mind finds no ground. But this moment is not punishment nor failure. It is the energetic equivalent of tilled soil, where the seeds of the new lie dormant before sprouting. There is no way to rush the process, just as you cannot rush the blossoming of a tree. Mystics, artists, and seekers have described this suspended state for centuries. Eckhart Tolle called it the space between thoughts. Others describe it as a silence that echoes in the chest. It is in this interval that the body is reprogrammed, the nervous system finds a new foundation, and the soul clears away the residue of the previous version. The void is the cocoon, and the cocoon is sacred. Bruce Lipton teaches that the environment shapes genetic expression, and the void is, by definition, a clean internal environment, ready to receive the vibration you choose to sustain. That's why many insights, healings, and profound changes are born out of nothing, when you are no longer trying to control, but simply being. The void is fertile because it is neutral. And in neutrality, anything can be born. If you feel like you're in that space now, breathe gently. Don't try to escape it in a rush. Ask yourself, what reality wants to be born through me now? And then just be present. Because the void is not the end of anything. It is the womb of your next version. And like any womb, it asks for silence, trust, and surrender. Just before the final leap, the past often comes knocking. Not as something obvious, but disguised as safety, comfort, or familiarity. People, habits, patterns, even opportunities you had already outgrown may reappear. And the temptation to go back may feel strangely logical. This is the field's silent test. Do you still vibrate at that old version, or have you truly chosen the new? This phase is not a punishment, nor a misstep. It is an essential part of energetic reprogramming. Neville Goddard said, "You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are." So when you begin to vibrate in a new identity, the field tests the consistency of that vibration. If you still react as you did before, the old reaffirms itself. But if you remain steady, even in silence, the new begins to solidify. This final test can be subtle, an unexpected call, an offer that seems convenient, an old behavior dressed up as nostalgia. The mind may argue that it doesn't hurt to try again, but the body knows. And the discomfort that arises in the face of that repetition is your compass. There is no anger in it, only an invitation. Do you truly want to move forward? It is at this point that many people sabotage their transition, not out of weakness, but because they don't recognize that the test is actually a chance to confirm their new vibration. The past doesn't reappear to trap you, but to show you that you can choose it or not. And in that silent no, in that act of remaining, lies immense creative power. So if you've been noticing old patterns trying to return, don't blame yourself. Just observe. Breathe. And remember, repetition is not regression. It's a test. A test that you are about to cross the threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. The quantum leap doesn't arrive with applause or grand announcements. It shows up quietly, as an inner gesture you barely notice, but that changes everything. One day, for no apparent reason, you realize you responded differently. That something that once destabilized you now simply passes. That you are more present, more centered, lighter, and then you understand the collapse happened. In the language of physics, collapse is the moment when the superposition of possibilities ends and a single reality manifests. But this process doesn't shout. It unfolds in silence. Likewise, your new version doesn't need a grand ceremony to be born. It reveals itself in the everyday, in how you respond to a challenge, in the thought you choose to feed, in the emotion you decide to sustain. Many wait for an external sign, a new job, a new relationship, a visible shift. But the true leap happens within, and the field only responds once your inner state has already changed. The new doesn't arrive to convince you. It aligns when you are already vibrating as if it were natural. That's why it's so easy to doubt the process at this point, because everything still looks the same on the outside, yet something is already profoundly different inside. And since we are used to measuring progress by evidence, we forget that true transformation is vibrational, and vibration isn't seen, it's felt. If you feel more peace, more presence, more neutrality, the leap is complete. So, honor this silence. It is not the absence of change. It is change itself settling inside you, like a new home being built with presence and coherence. Don't expect fireworks. What is being born within you now is so subtle, only the heart can perceive it. Doubt, in this phase of transition, is not just a thought, it's a frequency. And like any frequency, it emits a signal to the field. The problem is that this signal communicates instability. By doubting what is already in motion, you unknowingly reopen the door to the old reality. And this doesn't happen out of weakness, but out of habit. The brain wants guarantees before it consolidates the new. The transition is so subtle, so quiet, that the absence of clear evidence can be interpreted as stagnation. But the truth is, the field responds to the consistency of your vibration, not the intensity of your efforts. When you enter the cycle of, is this working? Am I doing it right? The field understands that you have not yet stabilized and delays the manifestation. Joe Dispenza teaches that coherence doesn't come from emotional highs, but from constancy. Small acts repeated with presence. A conscious breath, a more loving choice, a pause before reacting, build a solid vibration capable of sustaining the new. Doubt, in this context, is not lack of faith, it's lack of practice in presence. The danger of doubt lies precisely in its logical appearance. It disguises itself as caution, realism, or responsibility. But what it really does is pull you back into old patterns, where everything had to be predictable and controllable. In the quantum field, realism is a delay, because what's being created is not yet visible, but is already vibrationally real. So when doubt shows up, and it will, don't fight it. Just recognize, this is the old system trying to protect me. And then, choose to stay, choose to breathe, choose to trust once again. Because doubt only has power when you believe you need it. But you don't. The leap is already happening. You just need not to interrupt it. The true quantum leap doesn't end with the collapse of an old reality. It begins there. The new doesn't arrive as a spectacular event, but as a continuous state of being. And over time, that state stops feeling extraordinary. It becomes natural. You no longer have to try to maintain coherence. It simply is who you've become. This is the moment when you stop seeking signs and start being the sign. Your presence changes the environment. Your choices are guided by silence and inner wisdom. You don't need to convince anyone or prove anything. Your vibration speaks before your words, and it is this energetic stability that anchors the new as your default frequency. Greg Braden speaks of the importance of coherence between heart and brain as the foundation for conscious manifestation. When that alignment becomes consistent, you no longer react to external circumstances, you influence them. The external is no longer your thermometer. It becomes your mirror, and everything begins to align more fluidly, effortlessly, without drama. But be mindful. becoming the new normal doesn't mean the absence of challenges. It means you're no longer lost in them. Your identity is anchored in something deeper than the emotional fluctuations of daily life. It's like a river that continues to flow, even when it encounters rocks along the way. Stability isn't the absence of obstacles, but the constancy of your inner current. Now, your role is no longer to strive towards something. It is to sustain what already is, to care for your vibration as one tends a temple, to honor your practices, your pauses, your choices, and to remember you're not just living a new reality, you are sustaining a new frequency that in itself transforms the world around you. This is your silent and immensely powerful contribution. You're not collapsing, you're metamorphosing. That discomfort visiting your days, that strange emptiness, that feeling of not fitting in, none of that is a mistake. It's a sign that your previous version no longer vibrates within you, and the new one is emerging, even if still formless. The space between versions is not an abyss. It's a womb. It's the field of infinite possibilities, reorganizing your reality based on what you're now sustaining. And yes, sometimes it manifests as silence, as slowing down, as the absence of old meaning. But this apparent pause is the greatest of movements, that of vibrational realignment. If you're in that in-between space, breathe with reverence. Don't try to rush. Don't try to figure it all out. Just stay present, whole, trusting, because the quantum leap doesn't announce itself, it doesn't shout. It happens the very moment you release the need for control and allow the new frequency to fully inhabit you. To anchor this moment in the field, declare now in the comments, "I trust the next chapter." This isn't just a symbolic phrase. It's a vibrational code, an anchoring point that fixes your presence in the now and signals to the universe, "I'm ready to live the new, even without having all the answers." Because when the soul falls silent, it's a sign the leap has already happened.